Chapter 5. Self-Discipline and Personal Excellence. Aristotle wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." You are your most valuable asset. Your life, your potential, and your possibilities are the most precious things you have. Thus, your great goal in life should be to fulfill that potential and become everything you are capable of becoming. Your ability to learn, grow, and fulfill your potential is unlimited. Today, people are graduating from high school and college in their 70s, learning new subjects and developing new capabilities. Your ability to learn and remember can continue throughout your life if you keep your brain alive, alert, and functioning at its best. Your most precious financial asset is your earning ability. Your ability to work is your primary source of cash throughout your life. You could lose your home, your car, your bank account, and everything you own, but as long as you have your earning ability, you can earn it all back and more in the months and years ahead. Your biggest investment. Most people don't realize this. They take their earning ability for granted, but it has taken you your entire life to develop your earning ability. Every bit of education, experience, and hard work that you have invested in learning your craft and developing your skills has gone into building this asset. Your earning ability is very much like a muscle. It can increase in strength and power year by year as the result of regular exercise. Likewise, the opposite is true too. If left alone or ignored, your earning ability, like your muscles, can become weaker or even decline because you have simply failed to upgrade it continually. In other words, your earning ability can be either an appreciating or a depreciating asset. An appreciating asset is something that grows in value and cash flow every year as a result of continual investment and improvement. A depreciating asset, on the other hand, is something that loses value over time and finally reaches the point at which it is written off, being of little or no further value. The choice is yours as to whether your earning ability is increasing or decreasing month by month and year by year. See yourself as the president of your own personal services corporation. Imagine that you were going to take your company public on the stock market. Would you recommend your company as a growth stock, continually increasing its value and earning ability each year? Or would you describe your company as one that has leveled off in the marketplace, that is not really going anywhere in terms of increased value and income? Would you recommend stock in U Inc. as an excellent investment? Why or why not? What got you here won't get you any further. Some people are actually losing value each year, declining in earning ability because they are not continually upgrading their knowledge and skills. They don't realize that whatever knowledge and skill they have today is rapidly becoming obsolete. It's being replaced by new knowledge and skills that if you don't have them and someone else does, you will be in danger of being overtaken by your competition. Join the top 20%. In Chapter 1, I mentioned that the 80-20 rule applies to income. The top 20% of people in our society earn and control 80% of the assets. According to Forbes, Fortune, Business Weekend, Wall Street Journal, and the IRS, by many estimates, the top 1% of Americans control as much as 33% of the assets. The most interesting discovery in income inequality is that most millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires in America are first generation. They started with little or nothing and earned all their money by themselves in one lifetime. In America, there's a high level of income mobility, which means that you are able to move from the lower levels of income to the upper levels. Almost everyone who is in the top 20% today started in the bottom 20%. From that point, they began to do something different with their time and their lives, and as a result, they put themselves squarely onto the upward escalator of financial success. No limits on your potential. The average income increase in America is about 3% a year, just about the same as the rate of inflation and cost of living increases. People whose income is increasing at 3% a year seldom get ahead. They have a job, which can also be thought of as an acronym for just over broke. But the fact is that no one is better than you and no one is smarter than you. If someone is doing better than you are today, it is simply proof that they have learned how the law of cause and effect applies to their work, and they have begun doing the things that other successful people have also done. The application of the law of cause and effect to your personal life is learn and do. The achievement of personal excellence is a decision you make or that you fail to make. But in the absence of a commitment to excellence in your chosen field, you automatically default to average performance, or even mediocrity. No one becomes excellent accidentally or by just going to work each day. Excellence requires a definite decision and a lifelong commitment. The keys to the 21st century. Knowledge and skill are the keys to the 21st century. Becoming the best person you can possibly be and moving to the top of your field requires the application of self-discipline throughout your life. Mental fitness is like physical fitness. If you want to achieve either, you must work at it all the time. You can never let up. You must be continually learning and growing every day, week, and month throughout your career and in other areas of your life if you're going to join the top 20% and stay there. To earn more, you must learn more. Abraham Lincoln once wrote, "The fact that some have become wealthy is proof that others may do it as well. What others have done, you can do as well if you learn how." Everyone who is at the top was once at the bottom. Many people who come from average or poor families with average incomes, or who grow up in average circumstances, have gone on to become some of the most prominent people in their fields. And what hundreds of thousands and even millions of other people have done, you can do as well. The philosopher Bertrand Russell once wrote, "The very best proof that something can be done is that someone else has already done it." Ordinary into extraordinary. Very often you see people who don't seem to be as intelligent or as talented as you are, who are nonetheless accomplishing remarkable things with their lives. There's nothing that will make you angrier than to see someone who seems to be dumber than you, who is doing better than you. How can this be? The answer is simple. At a certain point in their lives, they realized that the key to success was personal and professional growth. It was a dedication to lifelong learning that made them successful. The good news is that almost every important skill is learnable. Every business skill is learnable. Everyone who is proficient in any area of business was at one time completely ignorant in that area. Every sales skill is learnable. Every top salesperson was once a beginning salesperson and unable to make a call or close a sale. All money-making skills are learnable as well. Almost every wealthy person was once poor. You can learn anything you need to learn to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. Make a decision. The starting point of your moving upward and onward toward becoming one of the most competent, most respected, and highest paid people in your field is simple. Make a decision. It's said that every major change in your life comes about when your mind collides with a new idea, and then you make a decision to do something different. You make a decision to complete your education, upgrade your skills, or get into a good college. You make a decision to start a new business. You make a decision to take a particular job or start a particular career. You make a decision to invest your money in a particular way. And especially, you make a decision to be the best in your field. Many people say that they would like to be happy, healthy, thin, and rich. But, as discussed in Chapter 4, wishing and hoping is not enough. You have to make a firm, unequivocal decision that you are going to pay any price and go any distance in order to achieve the goals you have set for yourself. You have to make that decision and then burn your mental bridges behind you. From that moment on, you resolve to continue working on yourself and your craft until you reach the top 20% or beyond. Follow the leaders, not the followers. When you decide to be one of the best people in your field, look around you and identify the people who are already at the top. What characteristics do they have in common? How do they plan and organize their days? How do they dress? How do they walk, talk, and behave with other people? What books do they read? How do they spend their spare time? Who do they associate with? What courses have they taken? What audio programs do they listen to in their cars? These are just a few of the questions you should ask in order to find out what successful people are doing that you might also need to do. After all, you can't hit a target that you can't see. Your selection of the right role models can have an enormous impact on your future. Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, and author of The Achieving Society, concluded that your choice of a reference group can determine as much as 95% of your success and achievement in life. Your reference group is made up of the people who you feel are just like me. Your natural tendency is to adopt the attitudes, styles of dress, opinions, and lifestyles of the people with whom you identify and associate most of the time. Fly with the eagles. Some years ago, one of my seminar participants told me his story. Bob Barton said he had started off in his 20s in a large company with about 32 salespeople in his branch. It was his first real job, and he was starting at the bottom. Because he was new, he hung around with the other junior salespeople. As they say, birds of a feather flock together. After a month or two, Bob noticed that the top salespeople in the office also associated with each other. They did not spend time with the junior salespeople. They also spent their time differently. When Bob got into work in the morning, the top salespeople were already there, planning their days and working on the telephone and making appointments. Bob also noticed that the junior salespeople would come in later, drink coffee, read the newspaper, and make excuses for not making sales calls. Bob decided that he was going to pattern himself after the top salespeople in the office. He looked at the way they dressed and groomed, and he resolved to dress and groom the way they did. Each morning he would stand in front of his mirror and ask himself, "Do I look like one of the top salespeople in my office?" If the answer was no, he would go back and change his clothes until he felt that he looked as good as the best people. He began to come into the office and organize his day before 8:30 a.m. so that he was ready to make calls as soon as his customers were available to see him. One day, Bob asked one of the top salespeople if he could recommend a book or audio program that would help him. It turns out that top people are always willing to help other people improve. When he got the recommendation, Bob immediately went out and got the book and sent away for the audio program. He read the book and listened to the program, and then reported back to the top salesman. The top salesman gave him some more advice on things to read and listen to, all of which Bob followed. Bob asked another salesperson how he planned his day, and that salesperson showed him his time management system. So Bob began to plan and organize his day the way the top salespeople did it. By using these top salespeople as his role models and emulating them whenever possible, Bob started to make more appointments, see more prospects, and make more sales. Within 6 months, he was one of the top salespeople in the office as well. By that time, the top salespeople had invited him for coffee and lunch, and he became one of them rather than one of the junior people. The next year, Bob went to the National Sales Conference, where he met a lot of the top people from around the country. He deliberately sought them out and asked for their advice. What books would they suggest? What audio programs would they recommend? What seminars had they attended? What strategies did they find that were the most effective in building their sales business? Bob did something that very few people do. When he received advice, he followed it. He immediately took action on the advice and then reported back to the people who had given it to him. Within 4 years, Bob became one of the top salespeople in the country. His friends and associates were the other top salespeople in his branch and in the other branches. His income had increased several times. He wore beautiful clothes, drove a new car, lived in a lovely home, and had a wonderful wife. And he said that it all came about as a result of asking top salespeople for their input and then following that input and applying it to his sales activities. But here's the kicker. Over and over, the top people, the ones who had been winning the sales awards year after year, told Bob the same thing. He was the first person who had ever come up to them and asked them for advice. No one else had ever sought them out and asked them why they were so successful. The answers have all been found. Here's a great discovery. All the answers have been found. All the routes to success have been discovered. Everything you need to learn to move to the top of your field has already been learned by hundreds and even thousands of other people. And if you ask them for advice, they will give it to you. Successful people will have their phone calls held, cancel other appointments, and put their work aside to help other people to be successful. But you must ask, and then you must follow their advice once they give it to you. If you can't ask them directly, read their books and attend their talks and seminars. listen to audio programs created by successful people. Sometimes you can send them emails and ask for advice. Learn from the best. Set high income as a goal. If your goal is to be in the top 20% of moneymakers in your field, the first thing you need to do is to find out what the people in the top 20% are earning today. This information is available. Just ask around. Check industry statistics. Go on to Google. You can find this information if you look for it. Once you know the income target at which you are aiming, write it down as your goal. Make a plan to achieve this level of income and work on it every day. Never stop until you reach it. The secret to high income in business and sales is quite simple. Learn and do. Like jacking up a car, you improve one notch at a time. Each time you learn and practice a new skill, you ratchet up your earning ability, and it locks in. As long as you keep increasing your earning ability, you keep ratcheting up to a higher level from which you seldom decline. Use the 3% formula to invest in yourself. To guarantee your lifelong success, make a decision today to invest 3% of your income back into yourself. This seems to be the magic number for lifelong learning. According to the American Society for Training and Development, this is the percentage that the most profitable 20% of companies in every industry invest in the training and development of their staff. Decide today to invest 3% of your income into yourself in order to make yourself an appreciating asset, to continually increase your earning ability. If your annual income goal is $50,000, resolve to invest 3% of that amount, or $1,500, back into yourself each year to maintain and upgrade your knowledge and skills. If your income goal is $100,000, resolve to invest $3,000 per year back into yourself to assure that you reach that level of income. The payoff is extraordinary. I was giving a seminar in Detroit a couple of years ago when a young man about 30 years old came up to me at the break. He told me that he had first come to my seminar and heard my 3% rule about 10 years ago. At that time, he had dropped out of college, was living at home, driving an old car, and earning about $20,000 a year as an office-to-office salesman. He decided after the seminar that he was going to apply the 3% rule to himself, and he did so immediately. He calculated 3% of his income of $20,000 would be $600. He began to buy sales books and read them every day. He invested in 2 audio learning programs on sales and time management. He took 1 sales seminar. He invested the entire $600 in himself in learning to become better. That year his income went from $20,000 to $30,000, an increase of 50%. He said he could trace the increase with great accuracy to the things he had learned and applied from the books he had read and the audio programs he had listened to. So the following year he invested 3% of $30,000, a total of $900 back into himself. That year his income jumped from $30,000 to $50,000. He began to think, if my income goes up at 50% per year by investing 3% back into myself, what would happen if I invested 5%? The next year, he invested 5% of his income, $2,500, into his learning program. He took more seminars, traveled cross-country to a conference, bought more audio and video learning programs, and even hired a part-time coach. And that year, his income doubled to $100,000. After that, like playing Texas Hold'em, he decided to go all in and raised his investment into himself to 10% per year. He told me that he'd been doing this ever since. I asked him, how has investing 10% of your income back into yourself affected your income? He smiled and said, I passed $1 million in personal income last year, and I still invest 10% of my income in myself every single year. I said, wow, that's a lot of money. How do you manage to spend that much money on personal development? He said, it's hard. I have to start spending money on myself in January in order to invest it all by the end of the year. I have an image coach, a sales coach, and a speaking coach. I have a large library in my home with every book, audio program, and video program on sales and personal success I can find. I attend conferences both nationally and internationally in my field, and my income keeps going up every year. There are 3 simple steps to become the best. Becoming one of the top people in your field requires discipline and application more than anything else. There are 3 simple steps that you can follow to become the very best in your field. 1. Read 60 minutes in your field each day. Turn off the television and the radio. Put aside the newspaper and read material about your field for 1 hour each day before you start working. 2. Listen to educational audio programs in your car. Start them and stop them as you listen so that you can reflect on what you have just heard and think about how you can apply the ideas to your work. 3. Attend courses and seminars in your field regularly. Seek them out. Take online courses in the convenience of your own home, courses that enable you to upgrade your skills and give you important ideas that you can use to be even more successful. The power of compound learning, like compound interest, is quite amazing. The more you learn, the more you can learn. The more you learn, the better your brain functions and the smarter you get. Your memory and retention rate improves. The more you learn, the more relationships you find between something you learned at one time and something you learn at another time. Never stop learning and growing. The achievement of mastery. How long does it take to achieve mastery in your field? According to the experts, the acquisition of mastery requires about 7 years or 10,000 hours of hard work. It takes 7 years to become a master salesperson. It takes 7 years to become a successful business person. It takes 7 years to become an excellent diesel mechanic. It takes 7 years to become an excellent brain surgeon. It seems to take 7 years or 10,000 hours of hard work to get to the top of any field. So you might as well get started. The time is going to pass anyway. The starting point of your achieving mastery is for you to commit to excellence. I've never met a person who made a decision to get into the top 20% in their field who did not eventually achieve it. And I never met a person who got there having not made that decision. Making the decision and then following up with continuous, purposeful, disciplined action is essential. Talent is not enough. As I mentioned earlier, according to Jeffrey Colvin in his best-selling book, Talent is Overrated, most people learn how to do their job in the first year, and then they never get any better. They just coast in their jobs. But the only direction you can coast is downhill. Many people will work away at a job for many years and never rise above the average. They will do their job from 8 to 5, but they never lift a finger to upgrade their skills. They will not invest any time learning their craft unless their company pays for the extra training and gives them the time off to take it. The average person does only an average job, and as a result he earns an average income and worries about money all his life. He never realizes that often there is only a thin veil that separates the average person from the excellent person. The fact is that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. No one stays in the same place for long. 2 hours each day will get you to the top. It's been calculated that all you need to invest is about 2 extra hours per day to move from the average to the superior. Only 2 extra hours each day will move you from worrying about money all your life to being one of the highest paid people in your field. People immediately ask, where am I going to get an extra 2 hours each day? It's simple. Take a piece of paper and do the following simple calculation. Calculate the number of hours in a week. 7 days times 24 hours equals 168 hours. If you deduct 40 hours for work and 56 hours for sleep, you have 72 hours left over. If you deduct 3 hours per day, 21 hours, for getting ready for and traveling to and from work, that leaves you 51 hours of spare time to do with as you please. If you invest 2 hours per day back into yourself, 14 hours per week, you still have 37 hours left over. That's an average of more than 5 hours per day of free time. All you need to do is devote 2 hours each day to move you from average performance to superior performance at whatever you choose to do. Form the habit of continuous learning. The best news is that when you begin reading in personal or professional development literature, listening to audio programs in your car, taking additional courses and upgrading your skills in the evenings and on the weekends rather than watching television, you soon get into the habit of continuous learning. In no time at all, it will become automatic and easy for you to learn, grow, and upgrade your skills every day and every week. The average adult watches about 5 hours of television each day. For some people, it is 7 or 8 hours. They turn on the television first thing in the morning and watch it until they leave for work. They turn it back on as soon as they get home from work. They then watch television until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, going to bed without enough time to get a good night's sleep. They then get up in the morning, drink coffee, and watch television for as long as they can before they go off to work once more. You can be rich or poor. It's your decision. Your television set can make you rich or poor. If you watch it all the time, it will make you poor. Psychologists have shown that the more television you watch, the lower are your levels of energy and self-esteem. At an unconscious level, you don't like or respect yourself as much if you sit there hour after hour watching television. People who watch too much television also gain weight and become physically unfit from sitting around too much. Your television can also make you rich, but only if you turn it off. When you turn off your television, you free up time that you can then use to invest in becoming a better, smarter, or more competent person. When you leave your television off when you are with your family, you'll find yourself talking, sharing, communicating, and laughing more often. When you leave your television off for extended periods of time, you break the habit of watching television, and you'll hardly miss it at all. Your television can be an excellent servant, but it's a terrible master. The choice is yours. Increase your income 1,000%. There is a simple 7-step formula you can use in order to increase your productivity, performance, and output and income by 1,000% over the next 10 years. It works for everyone who tries it. It is simple. First, answer this question. Is it possible for you to increase your overall productivity, performance, and output by 0.1%, which is 1/1000th, in an entire working day? Your answer will probably be yes. If you were to manage your time a little better and work on more valuable tasks, you would quite easily increase your output by 1/1000th in a day. Having done this for the first day, could you increase your output by 0.1% the second day? And the answer, of course, is yes. Having increased your performance by 0.1% on Monday and Tuesday, could you continue to do this for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? And again, the answer is yes. 0.1% per week. 0.1% times 5 days per week equals 0.1% per week. Is it possible for a normal, intelligent, hard-working individual to increase his or her output by 0.1% or 1/200th in a single week? Of course it is. Having done this for the first week, could you keep up the same pace of personal development the second week? Of course you could. Could you get 1/1000th% better 5 days a week for an entire month? If you could, this means that you would be 0.5% better per week, multiplied times 4, or 2% more productive in an entire month. There are 13 4-week months in a year. 4 times 13 equals 52. Having become 2% better in a month, could you repeat that in the second month, in the third month, the fourth month, and so on? Of course you could. By working on yourself a little bit each day, learning new skills, getting better at your key tasks, setting priorities, and focusing on higher value activities, you can become 26% more productive over the course of an entire year. Having achieved this goal for the first year, could you do it for the second year and then the third? Could you keep it up for 10 years? And the answer, of course, is yes. And the best news is that when you continue to work on yourself, it becomes easier and easier for you to get better and better as the weeks and months go by. By the law of accumulation, or the law of incremental improvement, by the end of 12 months you would be 26% better. If you continue to improve at 26% per year, by the end of 10 years with compounding, you would be 1,004% more productive. Your income would increase at the same rate. This formula works if you do. There are 7 steps in the 1,000% formula. Step 1. Arise 2 hours before your first appointment, or before you have to be at work. Invest the first hour in yourself by reading something educational, motivational, or spiritual. As Henry Ward Beecher once said, "The first hour is the rudder of the day." When you get up and invest the first hour in yourself, you set yourself up mentally to have an excellent day. You will be more positive, alert, creative, and productive all day long when you start your day by investing the first hour in yourself. If you read in your field 1 hour per day, that will translate into about 1 book per week. 1 book per week will translate into about 50 books per year. Since the average adult reads less than 1 nonfiction book per year, if you were to read 50 books in your field each year, do you think that would give you an edge in your profession? Do you think that it would move you ahead of virtually everyone else in your business? Of course it would. If you read 50 books per year for 10 years, this would be 500 books that would help you to improve your productivity, performance, and income. At the very least, you would need a bigger house just to hold your books, and you'd be able to afford it. Reading 1 hour per day in your field will make you a national authority in 3 to 5 years. This alone can give you your 1,000% increase over the course of your career. Step 2. Rewrite your goals every day. Get a spiral notebook and rewrite your major goals in the present tense every morning before you start out, without looking back at what you wrote the previous day. This writing and rewriting is the process of programming instructions into the guidance mechanism of your mind. When you rewrite your 10 goals each morning, you will continually see and think of opportunities to achieve those goals all day long. You will become more focused, channeled, and directed. You'll be more purposeful and determined, and you will achieve your goals much faster than if they were merely wishes floating around in the back of your mind. Writing and rewriting your goals each day can give you your 1,000% increase in income over 10 years. Step 3. Plan every day in advance. Make a list and set priorities on your work before you start off. Your ability to set priorities and to choose the most important thing that you could be doing at every moment is the key to organizing your life and doubling your productivity. We'll talk in detail about time management techniques in Chapter 12. Working on your top priorities can increase your income by 1,000% over 10 years, and it is probably impossible to achieve without it. Step 4. Discipline yourself to concentrate single-mindedly on one thing. Choose the most important thing that you can do each day. Then, start on it first thing and work on it until it's 100% complete. Your ability to focus and concentrate when you develop and hone it into a habit all by itself will enable you to double your productivity, performance, and output in the next month, and it will give you your 1,000% increase over 10 years. Step 5. Listen to educational audio programs in your car. The average business person who drives spends 500 to 1,000 hours per year behind the wheel of their car. When you turn your car into a university on wheels, a mobile classroom, you get the educational equivalent of 1 to 2 full-time university semesters as you drive around. Many people have gone from rags to riches by simply listening to educational audio programs in their cars as they drive from place to place. You could do the same. This alone could give you your 1,000% increase. Step number 6. Ask 2 magic questions after every call or event. First, ask yourself, what did I do right? Then, ask yourself, what would I do differently? The first question, what did I do right, forces you to think through and recall all the correct things that you did in that last meeting, presentation, or event, even if it was not successful. Write them down. The second question, what would I do differently, forces you to think through all the different ways you could improve your performance in a similar situation. Write these ideas down as well. In both cases, by reviewing your performance, by thinking about what you did right and what you would do differently, you program yourself to perform even better the next time. This is one of the fastest and most powerful exercises in personal growth and development I have ever discovered. This process dramatically speeds up the rate at which you move into the top 20%. Step 7. Treat every person you meet like a $1 million customer. Treat each person you meet and work with, both at home and in the office, as though he or she is the most important person in the world. When you treat people as if they are valuable and important, they will return the favor by treating you as if you are valuable and important as well. They will want to be associated with you, work for you, buy from you, and introduce you to their friends. You begin treating people like million-dollar customers by starting at home with the members of your family. Remember, they are the most important people in your life. So when you start your day well, first thing in the morning, by making the members of your family feel important and telling them that you love them, you'll be more positive, relaxed, and happier for the rest of the day. Fully 85% of your success will be determined by how much people like and respect you, especially in business and sales. Never miss an opportunity to treat people well. When you practice these 7 steps each day for a month, you will see changes and improvements in your life, work, and income that will astonish you. After a month of regular practice, you'll have formed a new habit of continuous personal improvement that can carry you onward and upward for the rest of your life. Be the best. Lifelong personal development and the commitment to personal excellence requires tremendous dedication, discipline, and willpower. The greatest payoff is that every time you learn and apply something new, your brain releases endorphins, which make you feel happier and more excited about your future. Every time you learn and apply something new, you'll have a greater sense of personal power. Your self-esteem, self-respect, and personal pride will increase. You'll feel very much in control of your earning ability, which is one of the most important parts of your life. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the importance of courage, of overcoming the fears and doubts that hold most people back. It is often the case that we know what we need to do, but we lack the courage to take the risks that accompany trying anything new. Instead, we make excuses for inaction. Now, here are some action exercises that you can do. Number 1, make a decision today to invest in yourself and getting better, as if your future depends on it, because it does. 2, identify the most important skills you have that determine the quality and quantity of results you get at your work, and make a plan to get better in each one. 3, if you could wave a magic wand and become absolutely excellent in any one skill, which one skill would have the greatest impact on your earning ability? Whatever your answer, set that skill as a goal, make a plan, and work on it every day. 4, set excellent performance in your work as a goal, and then determine exactly what you will need to do every day to join the top 20% or better in your field. 5, look ahead 3 to 5 years and determine the new knowledge and skills you will need in order to lead your field in the future. Then start acquiring them today. 6, select the top person in your field, the one you admire most, and use him or her as a role model for your own development. And 7, commit yourself today to lifelong learning, and never let a day go by without getting better in some area. Chapter 6. Self-Discipline and Courage. Mark Twain said, "Courage is not absence of fear, it is control of fear, mastery of fear." You need large amounts of self-discipline to deal courageously with all the fear-inducing events of your life. This is probably why Churchill said, "Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend." The fact is that everyone is afraid, and usually of many things. This is normal and natural. Often, fear is necessary to preserve life, prevent injury, and guard against financial mistakes. So, if everyone is afraid, what is the difference between the brave person and the coward? The only difference is that the brave person disciplines himself to confront, deal with, and act in spite of the fear. In contrast, the coward allows himself to be dominated and controlled by the fear. Someone once said that, with regard to warfare, although it applies to any situation, the difference between the hero and the coward is that the hero sticks in there 5 minutes longer. Fortunately, all fears are learned. No one is born with fears. Fears can therefore be unlearned by practicing self-discipline repeatedly with regard to fear until it goes away. The most common fears that we experience, which often sabotage all hopes for success, are the fears of failure, poverty, and loss of money. These fears cause people to avoid risk of any kind and to reject opportunity when it's presented to them. They're so afraid of failure that they're almost paralyzed when it comes to taking any chances at all. There are many other fears that interfere with our happiness. People fear the loss of love or the loss of their jobs and their financial security. People fear embarrassment or ridicule. People fear rejection and criticism of any kind. People fear the loss of respect or esteem of others. These and many other fears hold us back throughout life. Fear paralyzes action. The most common reaction in a fear situation is the attitude of, "I can't." This is the fear of failure and loss that stops us from taking action. It is experienced physically starting in the solar plexus. When a person is really afraid, their mouth and throat goes dry, their heart starts pounding. Sometimes they breathe shallowly and their stomach churns. Often they feel like getting up and running to the bathroom. These are all physical manifestations of the inhibitive negative habit pattern, which we all experience from time to time. Whenever a person is in the grip of fear, he feels like a deer caught in the headlights of a car. This fear paralyzes action. It often shuts down the brain and causes the individual to revert to the fight or flight reaction. Fear is a terrible emotion that undermines our happiness and can hold us back throughout our lives. Do the opposite. Aristotle described courage as the golden mean between the extremes of cowardice and impetuousness. He taught that to develop a quality that you lack, act as if you already had that quality in every situation where it is called for. In modern terms, however, we say, fake it until you make it. You can actually change your behavior by affirming, visualizing, and acting as if you already have the quality you desire. By affirming, by repeating the words, "I can do it," emphatically, whenever you feel afraid for any reason, you can cancel the feeling of, "I can't." Every time you repeat the words, "I can do it," with conviction, you override your fear and increase your confidence. By repeating this affirmation over and over again, you can eventually build your courage and confidence to the point where you are unafraid. Visualize yourself as unafraid. By visualizing yourself performing with confidence and competence in an area where you are fearful, your visual image will eventually be accepted by your subconscious mind as instructions for your performance. Your self-image, the way you see yourself and think about yourself, is eventually altered by feeding your mind these positive mental pictures of yourself performing at your best. By using the act as if method, you walk, talk, and carry yourself exactly as you would if you were completely unafraid in a particular situation. You stand up straight, smile, move quickly and confidently, and in every respect, act as if you already had the courage that you desire. The law of reversibility says that if you feel a certain way, you will act in a manner consistent with that feeling. But if you act in a manner consistent with that feeling, even if you don't feel it, the law of reversibility will create the feeling that is consistent with your actions. This is one of the greatest breakthroughs in success psychology. You develop the courage you desire by disciplining yourself repeatedly to do the thing you fear until that fear eventually disappears. And it will. Blow away the fear. When I work with sales organizations, they often ask me how to help a salesperson break out of a sales slump, especially in a tough economy. I give them a simple formula that is guaranteed to work every single time. It is called the 100 call method. In practicing this method, I instruct the salesperson to go out and call on 100 prospects as fast as he can without caring at all whether or not he makes a sale. When the salesperson doesn't care if he makes a sale, his fear of rejection largely disappears. He stops caring if the prospect he is speaking to is interested or not interested. He has a single focus. It is to make 100 calls as fast as he possibly can. One sales organization I work with has a daily prize for the first salesperson who gets rejected 10 times each morning. At 8:30 a.m., all the salespeople sit down at their desks and start making calls to try to win the prize. By the time the contest is over, usually by 10 a.m., everyone's fears of rejection have been blown out of their systems. They're ready to call on prospects all day long, not caring at all about the reactions they get. Learn to speak on your feet. In 1923, Toastmasters International was formed. Its express purpose was to take people who were terrified of public speaking and help them to become confident and competent when speaking on their feet in front of an audience. According to the Book of Lists, 54% of adults rate the fear of public speaking ahead of the fear of death. But Toastmasters International had a solution. They created a system based on what psychologists call systematic desensitization. Once a week at a luncheon or dinner meeting, small groups of Toastmasters come together. Each person is required to stand up and give a short talk on a specific subject in front of a group of their peers. At the end of each talk, the speaker receives applause, positive input, and comments from the other members. At the end of the evening, each person is given a grade on their talk, even if it was only for 30 or 60 seconds. After 6 months of attending Toastmasters meetings, the individual will have stood on his feet and spoken 26 times, receiving positive applause and feedback each time. Because of this continuous positive reinforcement, his confidence increases dramatically. As a result of this process, countless Toastmasters have gone on to become excellent public speakers and prominent people in their businesses, organizations, and communities. Their fears of public speaking are gone forever. Eliminate 2 fears at once. Psychologists have found that certain fears are bundled together in the subconscious mind, like wires on the same circuit. If you can overcome your fears in one of these areas, you will also eliminate other fears on the same circuit. The fear of rejection, or called reluctance, seems to be bundled together with the fear of public speaking. When you discipline yourself to join Toastmasters or to take a Dale Carnegie course to learn to speak confidently on your feet, your fears of rejection largely disappear as well. Your level of self-confidence in all your interactions with others increases dramatically. Your whole life changes in a positive way. Confront your fears. Your ability to confront, deal with, and act in spite of your fears is the key to happiness and success. One of the best exercises you can practice is to identify a person or situation in your life of which you are afraid and resolve to deal with that fear situation immediately. Do not allow it to make you unhappy for another minute. Resolve to confront the situation or person and put the fear behind you. A woman in one of my seminars told me that her boss was a very negative person. He was constantly criticizing and berating her about her work, even though she was one of the highest-rated employees in the organization. He was making her life miserable. She didn't want to give up her job, but she was afraid of confronting him. She asked me what she should do. I gave her this advice, which I've subsequently given to many other people. The only reason that one person bullies another is because they feel they can get away with it. The only way to deal with a bully is to confront him. Bullies are actually cowards at heart, and they will flee from a confrontation. I told her to do this. The next time your boss criticizes you for any reason, turn to him and say, quite firmly, "I would appreciate it if you not talk to me like that ever again. It hurts my feelings and stops me from doing my job the way you want." I told her to look him straight in the eye after she had finished making this statement. Well, she had tremendous courage. Rather than putting up with this situation any longer, the next time her boss began to berate her, she squared off with him and said those words. She wrote to me and told me what had happened. Just as I had predicted, he stopped dead in his tracks. He immediately apologized and mumbled, and then quickly went back to his office. He never criticized her again. She told me that she could have ended his bad treatment of her many months before if she had only had the courage to confront him directly the first time it happened. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Move toward the fear. When you identify a fear and discipline yourself to move toward it, it grows smaller and more manageable. What's more, as your fears grow smaller, your confidence grows larger. Soon, your fears lose their control over you. In contrast, when you back away from a fear-inducing situation or person, your fear grows larger and larger. Soon, it dominates your thinking and feeling, preoccupies you during the day, and often keeps you awake at night. Leaders have 2 types of courage. In leadership, the most common quality is that of vision. Leaders have a clear vision of where they want to take their organizations. Leaders also have a clear vision of where they want to be sometime in the future in their personal lives. The second most common quality of leaders is that of courage. Leaders have the courage to do whatever is necessary to fulfill their vision. They lead from the front and dare to go forward. There are two types of courage that you need. First, you need the courage to launch, to take action, to take a leap of faith. You need the courage to go all in, without any guarantee of success and with a high possibility of failure, at least in the short term. The major feeling that holds most people back is that, in spite of all their best intentions, they don't have the courage to take the first step. The second type of courage that you need is called courageous patience. This is the ability to hang in there and continue working and fighting after you've gone all in and before you have yet seen any results or rewards. Many people can muster up the courage to take action toward a new goal, but when they see no immediate result, they immediately lose heart and pull back to safety and security. They don't have staying power. Deal with the fear directly. The only way to deal with the fear is to address it head on. Remind yourself that denial is not a river in Egypt. The natural tendency of many people is to deny that they have a problem caused by a fear of some kind. They're afraid of confronting it. In turn, it becomes a major source of stress, unhappiness, and psychosomatic illness. Be willing to deal with the situation or person directly. As Shakespeare said, take arms against a sea of troubles, and in so doing, end them. The companion of fear is worry. Like twin sisters, fear and worry go around together. Mark Twain once wrote, "I have worried about a lot of things in life, and most of them never happened." It's been estimated that 99% of the things that you worry about never happen. And most of the things that do happen so quickly that you didn't have time to worry about them in the first place. The disaster report. Whenever you're worried about something, fill out a disaster report on the situation. This will destroy your fear and worry almost instantly. This is often called the worry buster. The disaster report has 4 parts. First, define the worry situation clearly. What exactly are you worried about? Very often, when you take the time to be completely clear about the worry situation, a way to resolve that situation becomes immediately evident. Second, identify the worst possible thing that could happen if this worry situation were to take place. Would you lose your job? Would you lose your relationship? Would you lose your money? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Be clear about this. In many cases, you will see that should the worst occur, it would not ruin you. It might be inconvenient or uncomfortable, but you would eventually recover. You will find that it's probably not worth all the worry that you are devoting to it. The third step in the disaster report is to resolve to accept the worst possible outcome, should it occur. Say to yourself, well, if that happens, it won't kill me. I'll find a way to get along. Most of the stress of worry comes from denial, from not being willing to face the worst possible thing that could happen. But once you resolve to accept the worst, should it occur, all the worry and stress seems to disappear. Fourth, begin immediately to improve on the worst. Take every step that you possibly can to make sure that the worst possible outcome does not occur. Take action immediately. Do something. Get on with it. Act quickly. Get so busy making sure that the worst thing does not happen that you have no time to worry. The real antidote. In the final analysis, the only real cure for fear or worry is disciplined, purposeful action in the direction of your goals. Get so busy working on your goals or the solutions to your problems that you have no time to be afraid or to worry about anything. When you practice the self-discipline of courage and force yourself to face any fear-inducing situation in your life, your self-esteem goes up, your self-respect increases, and your sense of personal power grows. You eventually reach the point in life where you're not afraid of anything. Once you've developed the courage to step out in faith, you must then develop the self-discipline of persistence, which we'll talk about in the next chapter. Now, here are 7 action exercises for you. 1. Identify your 3 biggest fears in life right now. What are they? 2. Determine what you would do in each of these situations if you were guaranteed of complete success. What actions would you take? 3. What have you always wanted to do but been afraid to attempt? What would you do differently if you were guaranteed of success? 4. In what 3 areas of life and work do you most experience the fears of failure and loss? What steps could you take immediately to confront and eliminate those fears? 5. In what 3 areas of life do you most experience the fears of criticism, rejection, or embarrassment? How could you confront these fears and overcome them? 6. What one great goal would you set for yourself if you knew you could not fail? And 7. What would you do differently in life if you had $20 million in the bank, but only 10 years left to live? Chapter 7. Self-Discipline and Persistence. Benjamin Disraeli wrote, "Beware of endeavoring to become a great man in a hurry. One such attempt in 10,000 may succeed. These are fearful odds." Persistence is self-discipline in action. Your ability to persist in the face of all setbacks and temporary failures is essential to success in life. Napoleon Hill said, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel." The primary reason for success is persistence, and likewise the primary reason for failure is lack of persistence or quitting too soon. There's a direct link between self-discipline and self-esteem. Each time you discipline yourself to do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not, your self-esteem increases. This is why there is a direct relationship between self-esteem and persistence. Each time you persist and force yourself to continue on, even when you feel like quitting, your self-esteem goes up. Each act of self-discipline strengthens every other act of self-discipline. Every act of persistence strengthens every other act of persistence. When you discipline yourself to persist over and over, you like and respect yourself more and more. You become stronger and more confident. Eventually, you become unstoppable. The reward of persistence. Persistence is its own reward. Every time you force yourself to persist on a task, whether it is large or small, you feel happier and better about yourself. When you go the extra mile and do more than you are paid for or more than is expected, your self-esteem goes up. You feel more powerful and in greater control of your life. In your career, when you go the extra mile, you put yourself on the side of the angels. The primary difference between winners and losers in life is simple. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. You can increase your ability to persist by talking to yourself positively. Say these words, "I am unstoppable." Before you begin any major undertaking, pre-program yourself by telling yourself, "I never give up." Before you can achieve anything worthwhile in life, you have to pass the persistence test. This is usually a snap quiz, sprung on you unexpectedly with no warning. You suddenly face a major setback, problem, temporary failure, or even a complete disaster. When this happens, remind yourself that this is the testing time. This is when you demonstrate what you are really made of. This is when you show yourself and others the strength of your character and your true determination to succeed. Your ability to respond. Your ability to respond effectively to setbacks, your level of response ability, is the measure of your readiness to succeed. When you experience a major setback or problem, you will feel temporarily stunned. This feeling is very much like a punch in the emotional solar plexus. You'll be stopped for a few seconds or a few minutes. During this period, you'll often feel discouraged or experience self-pity. You will say, "Why me?" However, it is not how far you fall that counts, but rather how high you bounce. Your aim is to bounce back as quickly as possible. Resilience in the face of unexpected reversals is vital to long-term success. Remember the warrior's creed, "I will lay me down to bleed a while, and then rise and fight again." Don't be surprised, shocked, or set back when things go wrong. Your best laid plans will often fall apart. Instead, expect disappointments and setbacks as a part of life. Take a deep breath, pick up the pieces, and continue onward. Optimism gives you resilience. The most important quality you need for success and persistence is optimism. This is a boundless confidence in yourself and your ability to ultimately succeed. To remain optimistic, you must control and discipline your thinking when things go wrong. Refuse to feel sorry for yourself. Remember, you are not a victim. You are an adult, and you are in charge of your own life. You are doing what you have freely chosen to do. Setbacks come with the territory. They are merely speed bumps on the road to success. Refuse to blame others or make excuses. When you complain or blame other people, it just makes you feel and sound petty and small, and, what's worse, it takes away your personal power. Whenever you criticize or complain, it makes you feel weaker and reduces your ability to deal effectively with the situation. Instead, greet every setback by repeating, "I am responsible." Look for the reasons why you are responsible for what happened rather than trying to pass on the blame to other people. No excuses. Be proactive versus reactive. Resolve to focus on the solution and what can be done now rather than on what happened and who's to blame. Think in terms of the actions you can take to resolve the situation rather than what went wrong and who is to blame. To remain optimistic, look for the good in every situation. When you look for something good, you will always find something good. Furthermore, while you're looking for something good, because your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, you'll automatically become positive, optimistic, and back in full control. Seek the valuable lesson in every problem or difficulty. Every setback you face contains one or more lessons that have been sent to you to help you to be more successful in the future. The difference between success and failures is simple. Failures feel sorry for themselves when things go wrong, whereas successful people look for the valuable lesson they can learn that will help them in the future. Look for the gift. Norman Vincent Peale used to say, "When God wants to send you a gift, he wraps it up in a problem." The bigger the gift that God wants to send you, the bigger the problem he wraps it up in. Instead of concentrating on the problem, look for the gift. Wonderfully enough, you will always find it. What's more, sometimes the gift or valuable lesson can be of far greater value than the cost of the problem itself. Sometimes one lesson that you learn in dealing with a problem can be the key to your long-term success. As Napoleon Hill wrote, "Within every problem or obstacle lies the seed of an equal or greater opportunity or benefit. Your job is to find it." Continually think of yourself as a strong, powerful, resolute person in the face of adversity. In World War I, a British general was described by his superiors. "There he stands, like an iron peg, driven into the frozen ground, immovable." Let this be an accurate description of you whenever you face difficulties or problems of any kind. Resolve to stand like an iron peg, driven into the frozen ground. Resolve in advance. When you resolve in advance that you will never give up, your success is virtually guaranteed. In the final analysis, nothing can really stop you but yourself. In life, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. All that matters is how many times you get back up. If you continue to get back up and press onward, you must eventually reach your goal. Each time you exert your self-discipline to persist in the face of adversity, you also increase your self-esteem and self-confidence. Then, as your self-esteem increases, you feel stronger, more powerful, and more unstoppable. When you feel better and stronger, you become more capable of persisting the next time, and then the time after that. By disciplining yourself to persist in the face of all adversity, you put your life onto an upward spiral of self-esteem, self-discipline, and persistence until you eventually become like a force of nature. Persistence is self-discipline in action. In Part 2, you will learn the specific things you can do to apply these principles to the practical areas of life, to achieve greater success in your work and career, and to fulfill your potential in the months and years ahead. Now, here are some action exercises for you. Number 1, identify one area in your life where you need to persist even harder to achieve your goal, and then take action in that area. 2, identify a goal in your life that you did not accomplish because you failed to persist through to completion. What steps could you take today to succeed in that area? 3, Identify one big goal that you achieved because you persisted and refused to give up, no matter how difficult it became. 4. Decide on your major definite purpose in life, the one goal that, if you achieved it, would have the greatest positive impact on your life. 5. Write down your goal clearly. Make a detailed plan of action to accomplish it, and then tell yourself that failure is not an option. 6. Make a decision today that you will persist until you succeed, no matter what happens, because I am unstoppable. 7. Resolve to set and achieve one important goal, overcoming the inevitable difficulties, problems, and setbacks you will experience, and to work on it until you succeed. Repeat this process over and over until persistence becomes a habit. Part 2. Self-discipline in business, sales, and finances. In this part, you will learn how to develop the discipline necessary to join the top 10% of people in your field. You'll learn how to increase your productivity, performance, output, and results. You'll learn how to become one of the most respected and esteemed people in your organization and your industry. Chapter 8. Self-discipline and work. Vince Lombardi said, "Leaders aren't born, they're made. And they're made just like anything else, through hard work. And that's the price we'll have to pay to achieve that goal or any goal." There is perhaps no area of your life where self-discipline has a greater impact on your future than in your work. Yet, if you're like most people, from the time you start in the morning and then continuing throughout the day, you are surrounded by people and events that draw you away from doing the things that are most important. However, it is through doing your most important tasks that you move onward and upward, quickly and dependably in your career. A group of senior executives was asked, "What are the most important qualities that a person would need to be promoted in your company?" Of these executives, 85% agreed that the most important qualities are 1. The ability to set priorities and work on high-value tasks, and 2. The discipline to get the job done quickly and well. It seems that these two qualities are more helpful for career success than anything else a person could do. Diligent, disciplined, focused work will enable you to get consistently and predictably more done, get paid more, and get promoted faster throughout your career than the average person. Separate the relevant from the irrelevant. I've mentioned the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, several times in this book, and it applies again here. Fully 80% of the value of what you accomplish will come from 20% of the things you do. Your job, then, is to identify those top 20% of your tasks and then concentrate single-mindedly on doing them quickly and well. Chapter 13 discusses time management in detail, but for now, let's take a look at the flip side of good time management, poor time management. According to Robert Half International, the average employee wastes about 50% of his or her time on non-work-related activities. 37% of work time is wasted on idle conversation on personal subjects with coworkers, conversations that have nothing whatever to do with the job at hand. The other 13% of wasted time is consumed by coming in late or leaving early, by long lunches and coffee breaks, by surfing the internet, reading the newspaper, or conducting personal business during the day. Even worse, when people who waste a lot of time actually settle down and get to work, they spend too much time on low-value tasks and activities. As a result, they get very little done, which then causes them to feel that they are under continual pressure to get caught up. Unfortunately, when you waste time at work, your work does not go away. It continually builds like an avalanche overhang. Deadlines come closer and closer. Stress mounts up until you finally force yourself to do the job, usually at the last minute, and then you often make expensive mistakes. Develop an excellent reputation. There is nothing that will bring you to the attention of people who can help you faster than for you to develop a reputation for hard, disciplined work every hour of every day. Average employees increase their income at only about 3% per year, which is just about the rate of inflation or cost of living increases. In other words, if you're an average employee, you're not really making any more money from year to year. Rather, you're just keeping up with your expenses. But the top 20% in most fields increase their income anywhere from 10 to 25% per year, which is also compounded year after year. The top 20% of people at work earn 80% of the money. The bottom 80% of employees have no choice but to share the 20% of the money that is left over. They must scramble for the crumbs that fall off the tables of the highly productive people in their fields. You can double your income. When I say to people in my seminars that you should set a goal to double your income in the months and years ahead, people react in different ways. Often at the break, someone will come up to me and say, "You don't understand my company. There's no way that I could double my income at my current company. They simply would not pay me that amount of money." Having heard this before, I then ask them the critical question: is there anyone at your company who earns twice as much as you do? The person that I'm talking to will always agree that, yes, there are people in my company who earn 2 or 3 times as much as I do. I then make the key point. So your company is quite willing to pay some people twice as much as they pay you. They're just not willing to pay you twice as much. Why is that? Then suddenly the light goes on. The individual realizes that it is not the company that is not willing to pay the money. It is the individual who is not contributing enough to be worth that additional money. The responsibility is his, not the company's. The law of 3 helps you to prioritize. When we coach entrepreneurs, executives, and business owners, we take them through an exercise that is designed to help them double their productivity, performance, and output within 12 months, sometimes even within 30 days. It's simple. Here's how it works. First, make a list of all the things that you do in a week or a month from the time you start work on Monday morning through to the end of the week. Write down everything, both small and large, including checking your email and returning phone calls. Then review this list and ask this key question. If I could only do one thing on this list all day long, which one task or activity contributes the most value to my company? As you go over your list, the correct answer will probably jump out at you. Whatever it is, put a circle around it. Then ask the second question. If I could only do 2 things on this list all day long, which would be the second task or activity? Review your list again and identify your second most important task in terms of contribution to your company. Finally, ask the question once more. If I could only do 3 things on this list all day long, what would be the third item? We call this the law of 3. The law of 3 says that there are 3 primary things that you do that contribute 90% or more of your value to your company or organization. Your job is to identify those 3 critical tasks and then discipline yourself to do them all day long. All of your other minor tasks will be support tasks, complementary tasks, enjoyable tasks, or useless tasks. They will be little things that you've gotten into the habit of doing as a way of unconsciously avoiding the big, difficult, important tasks that can make a tremendous difference in your work and career. Calculate your hourly rate. Another way for you to double your income is for you to use the hourly rate method of calculating your personal value and your time allocation. First, determine the amount that you earn each hour. You do this by dividing your annual income by the number 2,000, which is roughly the number of hours that an entrepreneur or executive works each year in our society. 40 hours a week times 50 weeks a year. For example, if you earn $50,000 a year divided by 2,000, your hourly rate would be $25. If you earn $100,000 per year divided by 2,000, your hourly rate would be $50. Whatever it is, from that moment onward, resolve to do only those things that pay you your hourly rate or better. Refuse to do those things that someone else can do at a lower hourly rate than you. Do not waste your time doing things of low value or no value while your other important tasks are building up. Get on the same page about what work is most important. Once you have made a list of all the results you feel you have been hired to accomplish, and you have determined your 3 most important things that you do to justify your hourly rate, Take your list of key activities to your boss and have your boss organize your job based on his or her priorities. You need to do this because you must be sure. Benjamin Trigo, co-founder of the Kepner-Trigo consulting firm and author of The Rational Manager, once said, "The very worst use of time is to do very well what need not be done at all." Yet it is amazing how many people are working hard on tasks that are of little or no value to their bosses. No matter how well you do an unimportant task, it doesn't help you. Even worse, working on low-value tasks keep you from working on the most important things you could be doing. Hard work on the wrong job can actually sabotage your career. The happiest days you will have at work will be when you are working on those tasks that your boss considers to be the most important. The unhappiest days at work will be when you and your boss are at cross purposes and not getting along, primarily because you are not completing the jobs that are most important to him and to his career. Your goal is to be paid more and promoted faster. Your goal is to become one of the most valuable and highest paid people in your field. Your job is first to make yourself valuable and then to make yourself indispensable to your company. This requires first and foremost that you are always working on those tasks your boss considers most important. Work all the time you work. The key to doubling your productivity and output, and eventually your income, is to really work all the time you're at work. Simply put, when you work, work. Don't waste time. Don't delay. Don't chat with coworkers or sit around drinking coffee. Don't read the newspaper or surf the internet. When you come into work in the morning, put your head down and then work all day long. The biggest time wasters in the world of work are other people who want to talk with you, distract you, delay you, and take up the time that you should be spending on high-value tasks. When a time waster approaches you and says, "Do you have a minute to talk?" you reply by saying, "Yes, but not now. Why don't we talk at lunchtime or after work? In the meantime, I have to get this job finished. I have to get back to work." When you tell people that you are under the gun, that you have to get a task finished for your boss, they will usually leave you alone. If you do this often enough, they will develop the habit of leaving you alone and instead find someone else with whom to waste time. Keep yourself motivated and focused by talking to yourself in a positive way. Your mantra from now on should be, "Back to work, back to work, back to work." Whenever you find yourself slowing down on a major task, begin repeating to yourself those magic words, "Back to work." Who works hardest? The Secret Survey. Imagine that an outside company is going to do a study of all the people who work in your organization. They're going to give each person a list of all the employees and ask them to rate their fellow employees in terms of who works the hardest, the second hardest, and so on. They're then going to give this list of people, organized from the hardest worker down to the laziest, to your superiors. This list is going to be used to determine who gets paid more and promoted faster than others. Now, imagine that this survey is already being taken, but in secret. The fact is, in any organization, everyone knows who works harder than anyone else. Everyone knows who works less and who does not pull their weight. Everyone knows. It's not a secret at all. Resolve today that if a survey like this were to be taken 1 year from today, you would win the contest. Resolve today that you are going to develop the reputation for being the hardest working person in your business. This will do more to help you than almost anything else. When you are surrounded by time-wasting people in situations, it takes tremendous self-discipline to work all the time you're at work. You must constantly fight against distractions and interruptions so that you can get back to work. The success formula. When I began my career working for a large company, I was the low man on the totem pole. Everyone had been there longer than me and was ahead of me in the company pecking order. Even though I was in my early 30s, I still had no idea how to play the game or what to do to get ahead in the cutthroat corporate competition that existed. Somewhat by accident, I stumbled onto the formula that made me successful. It was very simple. Whenever my boss gave me something to do, I did it immediately. Like a dog chasing after a thrown stick, I would immediately throw myself at the task, complete it, and hurry back to my boss with the finished job. Initially, he would smile and say something like, "I didn't really need it done that quickly, but thank you for getting it done." When I was caught up with my work, instead of relaxing, I would go to my boss and say, "I'm all caught up. I want more work to do. I want more responsibility." These words became my mantra. I want more responsibility. Again, my boss, who was preoccupied with an enormous number of projects, would say something like, "Okay, leave it with me. I'll think about what else I can give you to do." Every day, like a broken record, I would go to my boss at the end of the day and say, "I'm all caught up. I would like more responsibility." Bit by bit, he began to toss me sticks. He would give me a little task to do to keep me busy. Whatever it was, I would go out immediately, complete the task, and bring him the results. I would then say, "I'm all caught up. I want more responsibility." Within 6 months, he began to see me as the go-to guy. Whenever he had something he needed done quickly, he passed by everyone else and gave it to me. He knew that whatever he asked me to do, I would do it quickly. Once, my boss asked me to fly to Reno to begin development work on a property that the company was purchasing. He told me I could go sometime in the next couple of weeks. Instead, I left the next morning. I went straight to the lawyer who was handling the transaction, and then to the engineer who was in charge of the development work. I immediately sensed that something was seriously wrong with this land purchase. I didn't know what it was, but as I went from person to person, asking questions and gathering information. By the end of the day, just a few hours before this $2 million transaction was set to close, and the money would change hands forever, I found that we were about to be sold a piece of land that had no water and was therefore undevelopable. Because of complex laws and limited riparian rights, water rights, the property was a worthless piece of ground that could not be developed within the next 100 years. If we had proceeded with the purchase, we would have lost $2 million. I immediately stopped the transaction, demanded that the lawyer cut me a certified check for the $250,000 deposit that was in his trust account, and flew home to my boss to tell him the story. As you can imagine, my boss was very happy with what I had done. From that day forward, I received more and more responsibilities. Within another year, I was running 3 divisions of the company and had a staff of 42 people in 3 cities. I later learned that my boss paid me more money than anyone else who ever worked for him, and he did so all on the basis of results and profitability. This is why whenever people ask me how to succeed in business by really trying, I give them the same advice. Whatever your boss gives you to do, do it quickly and well. Then go and ask for more responsibility. And when you get it, do the job quickly and well until you get a reputation for being the person who does things fast. This will help you advance in your career more than any other reputation you could develop. Pay the price. Here is a simple 3-part formula for success at work. Come in a little earlier, work a little harder, and stay a little later. This will move you so far ahead of your competitors that they will never catch up. Come into work 1 hour earlier, before anyone else arrives. Use that time to plan and organize your day, and get started on your most important tasks. Make sure that whatever time your boss comes to work, you are always there working before he arrives. Second, work a little harder. Don't waste time. Don't chat with coworkers. Work through lunchtime so that you can get on top and stay on top of your main tasks and responsibilities. Third, work 1 hour later than your coworkers. If they leave at 5 o'clock, you leave at 6. Use that extra time to complete your important tasks and get yourself organized for the following day. When you come in 1 hour earlier, work through lunch, and work 1 hour later, you add 3 full productive hours to your day. Because there are no interruptions when you work during these time periods, you'll actually accomplish 2 or 3 times as much as you would during your other work hours when you're constantly interrupted by other people and telephone calls. In fact, you can double or even triple your productivity, performance, and output by simply adding these 3 hours to your workday. The good news is that by coming in earlier and leaving later, you don't lose anything. You merely avoid the traffic tie-ups and slowdowns that most people suffer through on their ways to and from work. The 40-plus formula. To succeed faster at work, use the 40-plus formula. This formula says that you can tell where you're going to be 5 years from now by looking at the number of hours that you put in today in excess of 40 hours per week. If all you do is put in the regular 40 hours that everyone else puts in, all you will do is survive. Your annual increases will be 3 or 4%. You will have a job, but your income increases will go up at the same rate as everyone else. It is when you begin to put in more than 40 hours that you give yourself an advantage over most of the other people in your company and your business. Make it a habit to do more than what you are paid for. Discipline yourself to put in more than you take out. Every hour that you work over 40 hours a week is an investment in your future success. The highest paid people in America in every field work 50 to 60 hours per week. The average self-made millionaire works 59 hours per week. This is equal to 5 12-hour days or 6 10-hour days. Most successful people at the beginning of their careers worked 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Moreover, they worked all the time they were at work. They didn't waste time. They realized that in order to reap a great harvest later in their career, they had to sow a lot of seeds in the springtime of their career. Look the part. Dress for success. Finally, to succeed at work, you need to discipline yourself to look the part. Remember, birds of a feather flock together. When it comes to presentation, this means that people like to promote others who look like them. Your bosses are very sensitive to the appearance of their staff. They like to promote people who they are proud to introduce to their friends and colleagues. Be sure that you dress and groom in such a way that your boss would be proud to take you out for lunch and introduce you to others as a representative of his or her company. Each morning before you go to work, look in the mirror and ask yourself, do I look like one of the top people in my field? If you don't, go back and change, and keep changing until you look like one of the top people in your business. Learn how to dress for success. Read books and articles, or ask others for advice. Look at the most successful people in your business and dress the way they do. Dress for the job 2 levels above your current job. Remember that fully 95% of the first impression you make on other people will be determined by your dress and grooming. Make sure that first impression and then the second and third impressions are consistent with the message you want to send. Many people work their entire lives without realizing that by putting forward a little extra effort, working a little harder, and focusing on higher value tasks, they could become one of the most valuable people in their organizations. When you discipline yourself to continually increase the value of your contribution to your company, you'll put your career on the fast track and virtually guarantee yourself a wonderful future. In the next chapter, you will learn that your work behaviors naturally determine your ascension to leadership, and you will see how self-discipline is essential to fulfilling your potential as a leader. Now here are some action exercises for you. Number 1, make a decision today that you're going to become one of the top 20% of people in your company and your industry. What should you or could you do differently to achieve that goal? 2, make a list of everything you do in your job and then identify the 3 things that contribute the greatest value to your work and your company. 3, set a new work schedule for yourself and begin to start earlier, work harder, and stay later until it becomes a habit. 4, identify the most important results you're expected to achieve in your job and then work on those results all day long. 5, determine the person who is the best dressed and groomed in your company and then resolve to use him or her as a role model for your own appearance. 6, decide today that from now on you are going to actually work all the time you're at work and that you are going to develop the reputation for being the hardest working person in your company. And 7, develop a sense of urgency. Resolve to move fast when you're given a job or opportunity. This can change your life. Chapter 9. Self-Discipline and Leadership. Nothing is more harmful to the service than the neglect of discipline, for it is discipline more than numbers that gives one army superiority over another. George Washington. Leadership and self-discipline go hand in hand. It is not possible to imagine an effective leader who lacks self-discipline, willpower, self-control, and self-mastery. The overarching characteristic of a leader is that he is in complete control of himself and every situation. There has seldom been a time in history when leaders were so needed and so much in demand as today. We need leaders at every level of society, both in the profit and non-profit sectors. We need leaders in our families, businesses, places of worship, community organizations, and especially politics. We need men and women who take their responsibilities seriously and are willing to step forward to take command of the situation. Fortunately, leadership is learnable. Leaders are developed, usually self-developed, over time through hard work, experience, and training. As Peter Drucker once said, there may be natural-born leaders, but there are so few of them that they make no difference in the great scheme of things. 4 stages of development. In your career in business, you progress through 4 levels of activity and attainment. First, you start off as an employee with limited knowledge and experience. Then, as you grow, learn, and develop the ability to get results, you evolve upward and become a supervisor, with responsibility for the performance and results of other people. As you continue to move up the scale of supervision, improving your ability to get things done through others from directly overseeing the work of employees, you become a manager, someone who assigns work to people with demonstrated competence in certain areas. Managers have a larger view, and this comes with greater responsibilities. As you move up the scale of management, becoming more knowledgeable and effective and getting more and better results from more and different people, you reach the highest level, that of a leader. At this stage, you are responsible for determining what is to be done rather than how it is to be done. It is said that some leaders are made, some are born, and some people have leadership thrust upon them. Leaders emerge or are promoted to deal with a situation requiring leadership ability. In its simplest terms, the role of the leader is to take responsibility for results. The primary reason that people are promoted into increasingly higher levels of leadership is because they demonstrate the ability to get the required results at each level. The ongoing question of the leader is always, what results are expected of me? Clarity is essential. The main reason that some people are not promoted into greater leadership positions, or perhaps they are even fired, is because of failure to execute. They do not do the most important jobs expected of them, nor do they get the results demanded of them. Leaders have vision. The first quality of leadership, based on 3,300 studies of leaders reviewed by James McPherson, is the quality of vision. Leaders have vision. They have the ability to project forward into the future and develop a clear picture of where they want their organizations to go. They then have the ability to share this vision with others and gain others' commitment to make this vision a reality. You become a leader when you accept responsibility for results. You become a leader when you begin to think, act, and talk like a leader. You become a leader when you develop a vision for yourself and for your company, your life, or your area of responsibility. There are hundreds of books written about leadership and the importance of vision, yet they can be boiled down to a single principle. A military leader has a vision of victory from which he never deviates. A business leader has a vision of success for the business based on excellent performance to which he or she is completely committed. A leader is a standard bearer. The leader sets the standard for the organization or the department. It is not possible for anyone in the organization to have a clearer vision or to aspire to a higher standard of excellence than the leader. For this reason, the leader is the role model, the one who sets the tone and the morale for everyone in the organization. The personality and influence of the leader affects everyone below him in the company, organization, or department. You cannot raise morale in a business. It filters down from the top, from the leader. The behavior of the leader influences and affects the behavior of everyone else. If the leader is positive, confident, and upbeat, everyone in the organization will be influenced by his behavior and will be more confident, positive, and upbeat as well. Walk the talk. When you become a leader, you must discipline yourself to be leader-like. You must walk, talk, and act the part of a leader. You become a different person with different responsibilities than a manager. When you are working your way up, you are a part of the staff or the sales team. When you become a manager, you are part of management. This means that when you are part of the staff, your orientation is upward and sideways. But when you become a leader, your orientation is downward, toward all the people for whom you are responsible. Perhaps the most important behavior of a leader is for you to discipline yourself to be a role model. Imagine that everyone is watching you and patterning everything they do and say based on your behavior. When you become a leader, you no longer have the luxury to let it all hang out. From the time you are promoted into leadership, you have a special responsibility to discipline and control your words and behaviors in such a way so that you bring about the very best possible results for your organization and for other people. Set the standards. The leader sets the standards for the organization's behavior, quality of work, personal organization, time management, and appearance. In excellent organizations, the leader is the person who everyone looks up to and wants to emulate. In most cases, the leader works harder than others in the company. The leader appears to be more committed, more determined, more courageous, more visionary, and more persistent than anyone else. The leader sets a tone that everyone wants to emulate. The leader also sets the standard for how people are treated in the organization. When the leader treats people with courtesy, consideration, and concern, it quickly becomes known that these are the standards to which others must adhere. Set values and principles. In addition to a clear vision for the organization, the leader must have a set of values and organizing principles that guide behavior and decision-making. Everyone must know what the leader and the company stands for and believes in. The job of the leader, then, is to articulate this vision of excellent performance within the constraints of high ethical standards at all times. He or she must walk the talk and live the values and behaviors he or she teaches. The very best standard for a leader is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For example, when Jack Welch was the president of General Electric, he encouraged managers to treat each employee as if that employee might be promoted over his head sometime in the future, and he might find himself working under the person who is now working below him. This way of thinking assured that managers treated their staff with a high degree of respect and courtesy. 7 principles of leadership. To be an effective leader, there are 7 principles you must incorporate into your leadership behavior and activities. 1. Clarity. This is perhaps your most important responsibility. You must be absolutely clear about who you are and what you stand for. You must be absolutely clear about your vision and where you want to lead your people. You must be absolutely clear about the goals and objectives of the organization and how they are to be achieved. Especially, you must be absolutely clear about the values, mission, and purpose of the organization and what it stands for. Everyone around you and below you must know exactly why they are doing what they do and what their company has been formed to accomplish. 2. Competence. As the leader, you must set a standard of excellent performance for the organization as well as for every person and function in the company. Your goal must be for your company to be as good or better than your very best competitor. You must be continually seeking ways to improve the quality of your product and services to your customers. 3. Commitment. The leader is absolutely committed to the success of the organization and believes completely that this organization is the best in the business or will be the best in the future. This passionate commitment to the organization and to success and achievement motivates and inspires people to do their best work and put their whole hearts into their jobs. 4. Constraints. The job of the leader is to identify the constraints or limiting factors that set the speed at which the company achieves its most important goals of revenue and profitability. The leader then allocates people and resources to alleviate those constraints and remove the obstacles so it can perform as one of the best in the business. 5. Creativity. The leader is open to new ideas of all kinds and from all sources. The leader is continually encouraging people to find faster, better, cheaper, and easier ways to produce excellent products and services and to take better care of customers. Number 5, continuous learning. The leader is personally committed to reading, listening, and upgrading his or her personal knowledge and skills as an executive. The leader should attend additional seminars and courses to improve his or her skills and abilities. At the same time, the leader encourages everyone in the organization to learn and grow as a normal and natural part of business life. The leader provides time and resources for training and development. The leader knows that the best companies have the best trained people. The second best companies have the second best trained people, and the third best companies have the least trained people and are on their way out of business. Number 7 is consistency. The leader has the self-discipline to be consistent, dependable, reliable, calm, and predictable in all situations. One of the great comforts of business life is for an employee to know that the leader is completely consistent and reliable. An effective leader does not change from day to day. The leader is not blown in the wind by each new situation or problem or emergency that arises. Instead, the leader is calm, positive, and confident, especially under pressure. The inevitable crisis. The only thing that is inevitable in the life of the leader is the crisis. When you rise to a position of leadership, you will experience crises repeatedly, crises that are unpredictable, unbidden, and often capable of seriously damaging the organization. It is in the crisis that the leader demonstrates his competence. In times of crisis, the leader becomes calm, cool, objective, and completely in control. The leader asks questions and gathers information. The leader assesses the situation accurately and makes whatever decisions are necessary to minimize the damage or cut the losses. Great leaders discipline themselves to keep their fears and misgivings private. They do not share their concerns with their staffs, knowing that this can cause confusion and loss of morale. Instead, the leader asks a lot of questions, probes deeply into situations so that he or she understands them thoroughly, and keeps his or her feelings private. As far as the members of the organization are concerned, the leader is always calm, positive, relaxed, and in complete control, no matter what is happening. Self-control and leadership. There's a direct relationship between your ability to discipline yourself and your behaviors and your readiness to lead. It is only when you prove to others that you are in complete control of yourself that they develop the confidence to put you in a leadership position and keep you there. The leader realizes that everything he says to or about another person is magnified. The leader therefore praises and encourages people, both in their presence and when they are not around. He never says anything negative that could be misinterpreted or that could demotivate or offend another person. If he has problems with someone, he addresses them privately, out of sight and earshot of anyone else. Leadership qualities. Leaders discipline themselves to plan, prepare, organize, and check every detail. They take nothing for granted. They ask questions to ensure that they have a complete understanding of a situation, problem, or difficulty. Great leaders act as if they own the entire company. They accept a high level of personal responsibility. The leader never complains, makes excuses, or blames others for problems. Leaders are intensely action-oriented. They gather information carefully and they make the decisions that are necessary. They set measures and standards and hold others to them. They insist that the job be done quickly and well. Leaders rise to the top. Leaders rise to the top of an organization as cream rises in milk. When you accept complete responsibility for getting results, concentrate single-mindedly on completing your most important tasks, continually upgrade your knowledge and skills as well as your ability to contribute value to your company, and treat other people with kindness and consideration, you will emerge as a natural leader. As you demonstrate your ability to make an increasingly valuable contribution to your organization, people above, below, and on both sides of you will want you to be promoted into leadership and will support you when you reach that position. One of your primary aims in life is to walk, talk, act, speak, and treat others as a leader would. Eventually, your position will be equal to your performance. In the next chapter, you will learn how to develop and practice the disciplines necessary to be more successful in your business life and activities. Now here are 7 action exercises that come from this chapter. 1. Ask yourself, what results are expected of me? And then, concentrate single-mindedly on getting those results every day. 2. See yourself as the leader of your organization and ask yourself, what kind of a company would this company be if everyone in it were just like me? Number 3, create a clear, exciting vision for yourself and your organization based on success and excellent performance. Number 4, identify the most important people in your business world and determine how you will have to behave toward them to get them to perform at their best. Number 5, resolve in advance that when the inevitable crisis occurs, you will respond in a calm, controlled, and intelligent manner. Number 6, clarify the exact values and principles you believe in and stand for, and then share them with the people around you. And number 7, treat each person around you as if they are competent, valuable, and important. This is the key to gaining the loyalty and commitment that you require as a leader. Chapter 10. Self-Discipline and Business. John Viney wrote, "The quality of self-denial in the pursuit of a longer-term goal, and indeed, the willpower to maintain that level of self-denial, is an excellent training for the boardroom." Most people will work in or for a business or own a business in the course of their lifetimes. The achievement of business success demands high levels of discipline from you in every area of business activity, both large or small. Without self-discipline and self-control in business, no success is possible. There's no area of activity that demands more self-discipline than starting and operating a successful business in our current economy. The first law of economics is scarcity. As a rule, there is never enough of anything for everyone who wants it. Specifically, there are never enough customers for you to sell everything you want to sell. There are never enough sales revenues to help you achieve all your financial goals. There are never sufficient profits to enable you to expand as much as you want. Especially, there are never enough good people to work with and for you to help you achieve your business goals. The law of competition. If the first law of economics is scarcity, then the first law of business is competition. It requires tremendous focus and discipline to do the things necessary to attract the scarce money of customers toward purchasing your product or service. To not only survive but also thrive, you must compete continually against all other uses of the same amount of money that you want to charge for what you sell. The first discipline of business success is that you offer a product or service that people want, need, and will pay for at a price they will accept, a price that is competitive with every other business that wants the same customer dollar. You must be completely honest with your product-service mix to ensure that it is well suited to the current market. This is an area where false assumptions or incorrect conclusions can lead to business failure. This answer is continually changing as competition and customer tastes also change. The customer is always right. Every week I speak to business people who are unhappy with their levels of sales and profitability. They insist that their product or service is excellent and that people should be buying from them in a much larger quantity. In each case, I have to gently point out to them that the only proof that their product or service is truly attractive or valuable is that people buy it willingly and then buy it again and tell their friends to buy it as well. According to the experts, fully 70% of your business decisions will turn out to be wrong in the fullness of time. This is the average. When you're a new business person or starting a new business, you'll be wrong even more often than this. It's not unusual for an entrepreneur to be wrong 90% of the time in the beginning of his or her career. It requires tremendous self-discipline and character to face the possibility that you could be wrong in your most cherished assumptions and beliefs. Nonetheless, this discipline is essential if you're going to minimize your mistakes, cut your losses, and redirect your resources toward offering customers more of the things that they really want, need, and are willing to pay for. All business investment and business startups require a high level of optimism. You must believe in the future possibilities of your business along with your new products and services. You must have so much confidence in their marketability that you're willing to undertake financial risk and invest many hours, weeks, and even years to achieve your business goals and you must do all of this with no real guarantee of success. At the same time, you need discipline to curb your confidence, to remain objective and realistic. Overconfidence in business can lead to business mistakes, financial losses, and even bankruptcy. You must be better. Because of the aggressive and determined nature of your competition, in order to simply survive, you must discipline yourself to be equal to or better than your competitors. After all, your competitors get out of bed every morning thinking about how they can put you out of business. They want to take away your customers and your sales. They want to get your profits. They want as much of your business as they can possibly get. To increase your probabilities of success against such competition, you must make every effort to outthink them. When you start a business or a new venture within a business, you require the discipline to do your homework thoroughly in advance. You create a complete business plan before you start operations, and you continue to update it and revise it every year thereafter. The discipline of advanced planning can spell the difference between success and failure. Challenge your assumptions. Most business ideas do not work, at least in their original form. As Peter Drucker said, errant assumptions lie at the root of every failure. A major reason for business failure is that the business owner or executive relies on assumptions that are not tested. They assume that the product or service is excellent in comparison with others. They assume that they can sell a sufficient number of those products or services and do so at a profit. They further assume that those profits will be substantial enough to make this investment of time and money more attractive than any other use of the same amount of time or funds. All of these assumptions must be tested carefully before any irrevocable commitment is made. According to the Kauffman Foundation on Entrepreneurship, 95% of entrepreneurs and small business owners in America earn less than $50,000 per year. Why is this? It's not because they lack the energy, intelligence, or ability to earn more. The very fact that a person has the courage and resourcefulness to start a new business means that he or she has above average levels of natural talent. The reason why so many entrepreneurs underachieve and fail is because they lack discipline. They lack the discipline to carefully study every aspect of the business before committing to it. They lack the discipline to test their assumptions rather than jumping to conclusions and hoping for the best. Don't let this happen to you. Identify your ideal customer. You need discipline to identify and determine your ideal customer, the exact person who can and will buy your product or service in sufficient quantities and at the price you need to charge in order to justify going into this area of business in the first place. You need the discipline, based on trial, error, and persistence, to develop a marketing plan that generates a steady and predictable stream of new leads for your business. To market effectively, you must be clear about your competitive advantage and your unique selling proposition. What is it about your product or service that makes it superior and more valuable for a customer than any other similar product or service being offered today? You need the discipline to develop a complete sales system from beginning to end that converts qualified leads into solid customers. It's amazing how many businesses just assume that the product or service will sell itself, whether they have a superior sales system or not. Know your true costs. You need the discipline to determine accurate costs and the proper pricing of your products and services. Walmart has become the biggest retailer in history, largely because of its expertise in this area. It's amazing how many businesses are selling products and services at a loss because they've never accurately totaled all the costs of bringing that product or service to market in the first place. You've heard the old saying, we lose money on every item we sell, but we try to make it up on the volume. Obviously, that's not possible. You need a quality control system in order to ensure that every product or service that you sell is of such high quality that your customers are so satisfied that they happily buy from you again and tell their friends. You need the discipline to develop a customer service policy, one in which you treat your customers so well that they become loyal to you and choose you over any of your competitors. The purpose of a business is to please your customers. What is the purpose of a business? The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer in a cost-effective manner. Profits are not the purpose of a business. Profits are the result of creating and keeping a sufficient number of customers who yield a sufficient number of profits after all costs. What is the key measure of business success? The answer is customer satisfaction. Every effort and activity of your business must be aimed at satisfying customers in a manner that is better than any other competitor. What is the measure of customer satisfaction? The answer is repeat business. It is only when customers buy from you again that you demonstrate that you have fulfilled the promise you made to them when you got them to purchase the first time. A resale to a satisfied customer requires 1/10 of the time and expense as a sale to a brand new customer. All successful businesses rely on repeat business, which is only possible with high levels of customer satisfaction. This is a real discipline. What is the key to long-term profitability? The answer is recommendations and referrals. The ultimate question that determines the long-term success or failure of your business is, based on your experience with us, would you recommend us to others? You can only survive and thrive when the majority of your customers are so happy with your products and services that they will encourage their friends and associates to buy from you as well. Since a referral from a satisfied customer is 15 times easier to sell to than a cold call, which means it only costs 1/15 as much, referral business is the key to your future. You require tremendous focus and discipline to develop and maintain customer service policies that cause people to buy from you, then buy again, and recommend you to their friends. Set high standards. You require the discipline to set standards of excellent performance in every area of your business and then to continually strive to get even better. You need to practice the CANI formula, which stands for continuous and never-ending improvement. No matter how high your level of quality is today, you can never be satisfied. You must be continually raising the bar on yourself and on everyone within your area of responsibility. You require the self-discipline to work long, hard hours for many months and even years to get to the top of your business. The average entrepreneur, business owner, or self-made millionaire in America works 59 hours per week. Some entrepreneurs even work 70 to 80 hours per week in the first few years of building their businesses. You must be prepared to discipline yourself to put in this amount of time and level of hard work if you want to be the best and get to the top of your field. Think about the solution. To succeed in business, you need the self-discipline to be proactive rather than reactive. You need to focus on solutions rather than problems. You need to concentrate on the most important thing you could possibly be doing every hour of every day rather than getting sidetracked by low-value or no-value tasks and activities. Above all, you need the self-discipline to settle in for the long term, to develop a long-time perspective in your business life. Because of the intensity of competition, it takes many years of disciplined effort for you to become a business success, whether this is in your own business or working for someone else. There are no shortcuts. There are no easy ways to get to the top. There is only one way, and that is through hard work, discipline, and willpower. On average, it takes about 2 years to break even in a new business venture. It takes another 2 years of positive cash flow to pay back the money you borrowed in the first 2 years. It then takes another 3 years before you become truly successful. In addition, everything costs twice as much and takes 3 times as long. Based on these statistics, why should you start your own business or embark on a new business venture? Because the time is going to pass anyway. After all, 5 years from now, you will be 5 years older. And 10 years from now, you will be 10 years older. At the end of that time, you will either be at the top of your field or still down among the 80%, struggling for every dollar and worrying about money every day. The choice is yours. Discipline is the key. In the next chapter, you learn the discipline that controls the lifeblood of your business, sales. In the final analysis, as Peter Drucker said, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. Now, here are some action exercises for you. Number 1, stand back and look at every area of your business as if you were an outside consultant. What changes would you recommend? 2, imagine you were starting your business over again today. Are there any products or services that you would not bring to the current market? 3. Identify the 20% of your products and services that account for 80% of your sales and profits. How could you sell more of them? 4. Project forward 1, 2, and 5 years in your business. What are the trends? What will your customers be buying in the future? 5. List 3 ways you could improve your customer service to ensure that customers buy from you again and tell their friends. 6. List 3 ways that you could attract more and better qualified leads from your marketing and advertising activities. And 7. List 3 ways that you could make more sales to the prospects you attract, or that you could attract more and better prospects. Chapter 11. Self-Discipline and Sales. Nothing happens until a sale takes place. Red Motley. The most important element in business success is selling. Nothing happens until a sale takes place. All the factories, businesses, offices, and producers of goods and services only leap into action when someone somewhere makes a sale to someone. Selling is one of the hardest professions in America. It is also the only profession in which a person can start with limited skills to achieve one of the highest incomes in our economy. Moving onward and upward in sales is like driving on the Autobahn in Germany. There are no speed limits. You can go as far and as fast as you want by stepping on the accelerator of your own ambition and determination to excel in the profession of sales. Business success or failure. Thousands of bankrupt or insolvent companies have been analyzed over the years to determine why they failed. After all the data was sorted and studied, virtually every business failure came down to one reason: low sales. In contrast, whenever a business was succeeding, growing, yielding profitability, increasing its share prices, and offering opportunity for more and more people, the reason boiled down to one factor: high sales. Everything else was secondary. Almost everything you do in a business either increases or decreases sales. Everything either helps or hurts. Everything either attracts or keeps more customers or drives them away. Everything counts when it comes to sales. The discipline of generating sales. Whether you are a salesperson or a business owner, you require the self-discipline to focus and concentrate on generating sales every hour of every business day. A group of researchers interviewed several hundred senior executives and business owners and asked them, "How important is sales and marketing to your business?" Without exception, they all replied, "Sales and marketing is absolutely essential to our survival and growth." The researchers then conducted a time and motion study of these same business owners and executives, following them around and tracking their time usage over the course of a month. At the end of that time, they completed their calculations and determined that the average business owner or executive who professed that sales were absolutely essential to survival and growth was spending only 11% of his time on sales and marketing. The remaining time was spent on meetings, discussions, paperwork, administrative work, luncheons, and a variety of other activities that contributed nothing to sales generation. If you're a sales manager or business owner, you must discipline yourself to focus most of your time and attention on getting your salespeople to generate the sales on which your company depends. You must spend 75% of your time working with your salespeople and accompanying them when they visit your customers and make presentations and sales. Do your paperwork before or after work, but during working hours, when customers are available to be seen, you should dedicate yourself entirely to sales generation. How to go broke. Some years ago, I started a new business. I developed the product and then began advertising via direct mail, radio, television, and newspaper. I allowed myself to be completely overwhelmed with planning, paperwork, and advertising activities. By the end of the year, I was out of money and my business was almost broke. At that time, I realized that I had taken my eye off the ball of sales. I then sat down over Christmas and designed a complete sales process. On January 2nd, I picked up the telephone and began making appointments. Over the next 2 months of aggressive and focused sales activity, I did more business than I had done over the entire previous year. I saved my business and my home, and I never lost sight of that focus again. One of the most important questions you can ask as a salesperson, entrepreneur, or business owner is whether what I'm doing right now is leading to a sale. Ask this question of yourself repeatedly throughout the day. Every time the answer comes up no, you must immediately stop whatever you are doing of lower value and turn your attention to sales generation. In addition, make sure that all the people who are responsible for sales in your company ask and answer this question in the affirmative all day long. Overcome your fear of rejection. Assuming that you have an attractive product or service, one that is reasonably priced and suited to the current market, the biggest problem that telephone salespeople and outside salespeople face is rejection. The fear of rejection does more to sabotage a sales career and undermine sales activities than any other single factor. It is the major obstacle to sales success. It takes tremendous discipline for salespeople to get up every morning and go out and face the inevitable rejection that they know they're going to receive all day long. Most people cannot handle this continuous rejection. Therefore, to avoid the emotional pain that comes with rejection, many salespeople engage in a series of displacement activities to avoid being rejected. First of all, they make fewer calls. According to Columbia University, the average salesperson works about 90 minutes per day. In other words, only about 1.5 hours out of an 8-hour day. They spend the rest of the time warming up and getting ready, shuffling paperwork, checking the internet, reading the newspaper, chatting with coworkers, coming in late, leaving early, and taking extended lunches and coffee breaks. As a result, by the end of the day, on average, the salesperson has worked only 90 minutes. Increase face time with customers and prospects. When is a salesperson actually working? The salesperson is only working when he or she is ear-to-ear on the phone or face-to-face with someone who can and will buy within a reasonable period of time. The rule for sales success can be contained in 6 words. Spend more time with better prospects. There's no other way to generate a high, consistent, and predictable level of sales results. Because of the fear of rejection, however, salespeople procrastinate and delay throughout the sales day, doing everything possible to avoid getting face-to-face with people who can say no. The key to sales success, as I learned as a young salesman, is to realize that rejection is not personal. Prospective customers always say things like, "No, I'm not interested," or variations of, "I don't want it, I don't need it, I can't use it, I can't afford it, I'm not in the market right now," or "I'm happy with my existing supplier." The professional salesperson realizes